Support for Radio Friends comes from Rose Heart Hypnotherapy, serving Central Missouri since 2007. They specialize in pain management, pre- and post-medical procedures, fears, phobias, and increasing performance and success in every area of life. Athletes needing sports hypnosis to improve their ability will be pleased to know that Rose Heart Hypnotherapy specializes in neurofeedback and is the only certified OptiBrain train and golf practitioner in Missouri. Call Rose Heart Hypnotherapy at 888-604-9997 or visit mohyp.com and experience true success. Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends on Friday, March the 20th. We have John Howe back with us again today. John's been on, I think, a couple of times.
Exactly, yeah.
He's written a book called The Foolish Corner, and The Foolish Corner is all about money, isn't it? And how to manage your money, how to save money, how to not get caught up in a money trap, per se.
All of those things and more, in fact.
Yeah.
The kind of perspective it takes is based on the psychology research about kind of our cognitive limitations and human biases, and the biases we have as humans, and how that gets in the way of our personal financial planning.
Okay.
Exactly.
And what we've done is we've taken a chapter or a couple of chapters each segment. So let's talk about myopic loss aversion.
Okay.
Is that the name of one chapter?
That is the name of a chapter.
What is it?
Okay. So first of all, let's start with loss aversion. And loss aversion is the notion that, it's a fairly simple notion, and that is that losses hurt us more than gains. So now we're talking about equal magnitudes here.
Okay.
But a $100 loss in the stock market actually hurts us more in terms of the pain it inflicts, mental, as it were, compared to the pleasure we'd get from a $100 gain in the stock market. So there's this asymmetry, which can be summarized very briefly as losses hurt more than gains. And so that's what loss aversion is. And aversion is like I really, really don't like losses, and I kind of really don't like them more so than I like gains. And so that's the loss aversion part of myopic loss aversion. And so, and by the way, this has been very much documented in the psychology literature. This is a very solid finding that when you ask people to report on how they feel about gains versus losses, this result comes through in virtually every study. So it's a very reliable result.
People dislike the loss more than they enjoy the gain.
You said it better than I did. Absolutely.
So why is that?
Well, it just seems to be built into
you would think that you would enjoy the gain much more.
This seems to be kind of baked into our humanness, actually.
Our DNA.
Our DNA, exactly. And I think it probably has to do, if you take an evolutionary psychology kind of perspective on it, it probably has to do with, if you're out on the savannas trying to survive, that losses can be very, very severe things. The loss of food might mean that you starve to death or something like that. So it might be quite, especially from an evolutionary perspective, quite rational to be really, really afraid or disliking of the losses. The gains are always nice. I mean, people always report pleasure from gains. So
how do you change that mental attitude there? Or is it necessary to change it?
Well, I don't think this one can be changed very much. So the question is, what do we do knowing that we are subject to this bias, or this built-in kind of bias, I guess I'd call it. And the answer, let's now turn to the word myopic and myopic loss aversion. And the application that I'm going to talk about today has to do with the stock market. So I'm going to tell a simplified but largely accurate story about the stock market.
Okay.
First of all, over long periods of time, it goes up.
It goes up. And that is a fact.
That is a fact.
But when you start thinking about it from day to day, you can make yourself sick and your stomach churning.
And in fact, you have hit the nail on the head for myopic loss aversion. So my thought experiment is that suppose it goes up by going up let's talk about a tick just being a single amount like 10 cents a share or something like that. And suppose it goes up over time by going up 5 ticks for every 4 it goes down. Okay, so the positive ticks, the up ticks, exceed the down ticks, the losses, and therefore that leads to the long run trend going up. But the problem here is that those 4 losses really give us a lot of displeasure, a lot of disutility. And of course, the 5 upticks give us some pleasure, but remember that there's a much heavier weighting on the losses. And so this doesn't even out. In fact, people look at this 5 ticks up for every 4 ticks down, and they actually feel pretty bad about that on net. And so, because again, the losses count so much against our utility compared to the gains, right? And 5 is not a great deal more than 4. And in fact, that's about the way the stock market behaves. So,
well, the best thing to do if you're going to be really upset about the stock market is say, I'm just going to invest on a regular basis, and I'm not going to look at it right away.
Not looking at it is the key here. So if we have this myopic loss aversion, which pretty much we all do, right, then we don't want to be looking at the stock market on a daily basis, maybe not on a weekly basis, maybe not even on a monthly basis, because we might see almost equal number of upticks and downticks, but we get more disutility out of the downticks than the upticks. And so your advice is exactly right, that we should look at it infrequently. I think in the book, I suggest maybe a year, because every year you ought to look at it because you might want to reevaluate where the portfolio stands. And I think about the worst case of this is somebody who's got the TV on and the numbers rolling across the bottom.
Yeah.
That's even worse. Like it's the intraday within the day, and and a lot of companies do this though. That in their headquarters they've got the company stock running across there. And given what we know about myopic loss aversion, that's a terrible thing to do.
We're almost out of time, but I wanted to mention also. I want you to touch on perception of patterns where they don't exist.
Yeah, this is a problem that all of us have as humans, and that is that we tend to see patterns where they don't exist. Now, again, evolutionarily, seeing patterns where they do exist has helped us. The change of seasons, for example, helps to know when to plant and so forth, or when the migration might be occurring. But the problem is that it's in some sense, an overdeveloped sense, and that is that people see patterns. In particular, I'm thinking about the stock market. People see patterns where no patterns, in fact, exist.
It's in our mind.
Yeah, it's just
it's in our mind. We're imagining that.
It's imagined, and the trouble is that people act on the perception that there's a pattern there when in fact there's not a pattern there.
Okay, so don't read too much into what you see.
Exactly.
Is that good advice?
Absolutely.
Don't read too much into it, except for the book.
Well, you could read the book. That would be cool.
The Foolish Corner.
That would be fine.
And where do you get this book?
You can buy it on Amazon, both in Kindle form and print on demand. If you order it, it'll be there within 2 days.
Okay. John Howe, we appreciate you coming by today. It's always interesting to visit with you.
It's always a pleasure to be here, Paul.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Right. Continued success with your book.
Thank you.
And is there a phone number, by the way, that people, if they want to get in touch with you, you go out and speak?
Well, I'm chair of the department in the finance department at the University of Missouri.
University.
So I'm easy to find on the website of the business school.
Do you go out and speak to groups and organizations?
I do.
Okay.
Yes,
so if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, they could just look you up on the university.
You can do. It's 882-5357.
And you will go talk to their group or organization.
Well,
and maybe hawk a few books while you're there, too.
There you go.
The Foolish Corner.
Okay.
That's it for today. Tomorrow, Hickman Theater and Voluntary Action Center. Drop me an email, something you'd like to hear or see. That's pepperp, missouri.edu. Bye-bye.